I want to start this video by asking a question. What would you do if you had 30 days to live? Would you travel the world, confess a crush you've had on the person you like, bask in the beauty of nature? Or would you do this?
Kool-Aid known by colors, boy, we ain't no flavors. We relate to Jesus. Most my people born in mangers too. They ain't know they fathers. They were born as strangers.
Lazarus is an anime original from Mappa Studios, and I have a very turbulent relationship with Mappa anime originals. Don't ask me why. Now at first, I was very quick to dismiss this show because the last time I gave Mappa a chance, they disappointed me by giving me one of the most frustrating anime I've ever watched in my life. But when I saw that Shinichirō Watanabe was directing the show and Chad Stahelski, the guy responsible for John Wick's action and choreography, was part of the production, I had a lot of hope. I shouldn't have, because once I saw that it was also an Adult Swim show, I had PTSD flashbacks of what happened with Uzumaki.
Leave me alone!
Akira! Now I could give you Watanabe's catalog and tell you that he is one of the greatest directors in all of anime and suck him off until the sun sets and rises in the sky again. But I haven't watched Cowboy Bebop and I have not finished Samurai Champloo, so there shall be no dick sucking today. Sorry, JoJo fans. Lazarus is the first time I've engaged with Watanabe's work, and while the first couple of episodes did keep me invested, I slowly started to become disillusioned with the show's main message, and in order to talk about the show's central message, we need to start from the beginning. The story of Lazarus takes place 30 years in the future of 2055. The world has become a somewhat dystopian cyberpunk hellscape akin to Cyberpunk 2077, without all the neon flashing colors that assault your senses and overstimulate you. The colors used in this show are all somewhat muted, and it's a bit early to start praising it, but one thing I really like about Lazarus is how that lack of color is in line with the show. What is the story about, I hear you ask? Fucking nothing. To summarize the story of Lazarus without reading the wiki, a special unit has been assigned to locate the man who developed a super drug that has slowly been deteriorating the health of people who have taken it over the last 3 years, and will kill all of them in the next 30 days if they don't find the man responsible for creating the drug and get him to develop a cure for it. Pretty simple plot, right? So before I get to critiquing the show, I think it should be praised for its strengths regardless of its overall quality. It's an action thriller mystery show that has a ton of fantastic choreography, action set pieces, amazing background art, character design, and a fantastic soundtrack composed by Bonobo, Floating Points, and one of the people who helped create what is arguably the best hip-hop album of all time, To Pimp a Motherfucking Butterfly. Kamasi Washington. The soundtrack really immerses you in the world of the show and really captures the vibe. If there is one thing Watanabe's productions have that is always really good, it's the music. And this is coming from someone who hasn't watched all his shows to completion. Just listen to some of these tracks for a second. I also almost forgot to include this when I was writing the script. The trans inclusion. There's a trans character in this show, and I think that's really cool. There's just a trans character who's right there, and she just exists. Remember to always throw a brick at your local trans folk. Outside of what I just praised the show for, there are a lot of things that plague this show's quality and stop it from being a show that could have been my anime of the year. I'll bring up a few things here and there, but they aren't that important in regards to the larger scope of the show. A lot of my issues with Lazarus stem more from how the story is structured, how it doesn't really use its characters to its best capabilities, and the main reason that I made this video, how it fails at truly conveying nihilism. So let's begin. Now, I would like to start off this section by asking you a question. How would you define nihilism? I've discussed nihilism on this channel before in a video I did last year when I covered the anime Negative Positive Angler, and I discussed it much longer in my Suffering and Art video, a video none of you watched. I know I sound terrible in that video, but it's one of the best videos I've ever made on the channel. To quickly define nihilism, nihilism as defined by the Ethics Center is, and I quote, a school of philosophical thought proposing that our existence fundamentally lacks inherent meaning. This, in my opinion, is is the most simple way of describing what nihilism is, but it isn't necessarily the best way to describe nihilism as a whole. To break it down further, there are two forms that nihilism takes, and this article by the Ethics Center explains them really well, so I will link it in the description. But to summarize these two forms of nihilism, the first is described as existential nihilism, which, as previously described, is the belief that life is essentially meaningless and that there isn't any value to be found in it. The second form of nihilism is referred to as moral nihilism. This school of thought is described as the idea that morality doesn't exist, and that if objective values do not exist, then how can we classify if the actions we take in our lives can be described as right or wrong? In the context of Lazarus as a story, existential nihilism is what encompasses the central narrative of the show. Moral nihilism is somewhat present, but it doesn't really take center stage, because while the characters are quick to take a life if they are defending themselves, they don't go around killing everyone just because everyone on the planet might die in 30 days. The doctor responsible for dooming the entire human race might fall under the umbrella of a moral nihilist, but at the time of writing this script, nothing in the show has really shown if he might be an existential nihilist too. So for now, I'm mainly going to focus on the main cast, as they embody what the story talks about and how its structure fails it from truly getting its point across. I want to emphasize how the show's take on nihilism cripples its story first, and also I really just want to talk about the show's pacing issues. And in order to do that, we need to talk about the characters. The main characters of this show, Axel, Doug, Aster, Blake, and Elena, are what the Ethics Center would classify as existential active nihilists. The term active nihilist was coined by Friedrich Nietzsche, and an active nihilist, in the most brain-rot explanation I can possibly muster, is a nihilistic person who views their nihilism not through a lens of "it's so over," but instead looks at the world through the perspective of "we are so back." Essentially, this type of nihilism is one rooted in the belief that you can build something new for yourself from what was once previously established as the correct way of thinking or acting. You no longer trap yourself in the confines of your mind trying to find meaning in life, rather you choose to build over the old. In the case of Lazarus, the drug happener has sort of stagnated the world. Everyone on the planet has somewhat become docile and contempt because they are all on a painkiller drug that has essentially freed them from ever feeling sick or being in pain again. When Dr. Skinner, the person who created the drug, comes back and says that the drug was actually a deadly poison that is going to kill everyone in 30 days, the main characters have to band together to find him and get an antidote. You can kinda get where I'm going with this explanation. The main characters all have a somewhat nihilistic view of the world, and although it's never explicitly shown, we hear each of their thoughts, feelings, and get a glimpse at who they all are as each of them narrate the beginning of the first 5 episodes. Leland, this blonde white kid, even shows his nihilistic worldview at the start of the first episode.
But I'm going home, and I don't think I'll ever be back.
Okay, but why?
With what's going on, there's no point in coming to school anymore.
And Leland ends up joining Lazarus to save the world. You could classify the main characters as being the opposite of active nihilists, which are referred to as passive nihilists. This type of nihilism is rooted in a belief that life has no inherent value and everything is pointless. These characters have all participated willingly in taking this drug that has essentially made them numb to everything. Hapner in this show is what I believe to be somewhat of a metaphor to how people confront dealing with the world around them. A passive nihilist willingly chooses to actively not participate in life because they see no point in it, or their circumstances have caused them to reject the world. And if you had a drug that could essentially make you stop feeling whatever you are feeling because you also want to reject your emotions, you take it too. It's like this show. I watch it, and I feel nothing. The way the characters are written kind of runs counter to the message the show is trying to convey, and in my eyes, the message is that life does have inherent value, and that if you are going to be stuck in a nihilistic worldview, it would be better to not sit by and rot away as the world decays around you. And I do think the show does try to do that in how the characters are presented to us. It just fails on really sticking the landing because 9 times out of 10, I don't give a single fuck about what is going on in this show. I cannot tell you anything about these characters, who they really are outside of vague allusions to their actual ideological beliefs, what they stand on, and how they impact the narrative of the overall story, because I don't care about this show. And it hurts me to say that, because I can see where the show is trying to go. It just fucking never goes anywhere. What's a good way to describe this show? It's like trying to goon. Oh my god, why am I using this as an example? Imagine Goku charging up a Kamehameha blast, and instead of getting that sweet release where he releases this gigantic load of energy, nothing happens. He just still goes. It doesn't help that this show has such I'm 14 and this is deep energy. It seems to me that the show is afraid of exploring this topic to its fullest potential. Rather, it appears that Lazarus uses nihilism as more of an aesthetic rather than the serious subject it actually is. A show like this exploring this topic with the real life world in the state that it's currently in is insulting to watch. And I don't mean that the show is offensive when I say insulting. I mean that the show feels insulting to the audience because instead of approaching the subject of nihilism and people feeling hopeless because they feel limited by their time on Earth, it would much rather prioritize being a visually beautiful action thriller than a thought-provoking show that tries to give hope to its audience. There are bits and pieces of that idea that do kind of peek through when you are watching the show. Like this scene where Asta is sitting on a boat and she talks about the fact that she hasn't seen a blue sky in such a long time and wonders if this is what Dr. Skinner wanted to show the people who took Hapner. By giving them the motivation of staying alive, then they could motivate themselves to leave their surrounding and see things that they would have never gotten the chance to before.
You know, maybe this is something Skinner wanted us to see.
This is beautiful in concept, but its execution is where it really fails because in order for Asta to get to this conclusion, you know, life is actually beautiful when we motivate ourselves to do something and have a goal we are looking towards. It takes 7 episodes of this 13 episode series. And this is where my problem with the pacing of the show really started to visualize itself. It takes 7 episodes of this 13 episode series, and I know that characters and a story typically have this big moment of realization around the midway point of the story. Episode 7 is typically where our characters finally cement their goals and how they'll achieve them towards the finale. But the thing about Lazarus's story is that it doesn't really allow for something like this. It doesn't allow for something like this to happen naturally. This is a bit of a quick little rant on the pacing of this show because I want to ask, why is this a 13 episode series? Genuinely, I'm asking, how and why is this show only 13 episodes? From what I've seen of all of Watanabe's anime, they've all been 25 or 26 long episode shows aside from Kids on the Slope, which is 12 episodes. Lazarus is only 13 episodes and it feels like it should be longer. Am I the only one who feels like this? This show feels like it's supposed to have way more episodes, and I had that feeling since I watched episode 5 because it feels like we are missing something in this show, and I think it's more time. Lazarus feels like a series that is supposed to be way longer. It feels like we are supposed to have way more time with this world, with these characters, and with this story, but it simultaneously feels like the show is going extremely fast and both extremely slow at the same time, which feels very bizarre because I've watched shows that have a similar pacing that somehow felt way better rounded and overall more enjoyable while exploring topics in a similar style to Lazarus. The closest ones I can identify from are Heavenly Delusion and Devilman Crybaby 2018. These shows have incredibly fast pacing, but it has these moments where the story slows down and you get a good sense of flow with the overall direction in which the story is heading towards. Devilman even has 3 episodes less than Lazarus, and it somehow still feels better paced and feels like more of a complete story. Lazarus has moments like this, but it's undercut because of the poor writing, which doesn't give these moments time to really settle in on the viewer. And again, I'm repeating myself when I say that it's really disappointing because I can see where Lazarus is trying to go. I can understand what the story is trying to do and the message it wants to convey, but it fails so much that it's hard for me to just enjoy the visual spectacle of the show alone and not think about the story. This show is such a hodgepodge, I've never used that word before, of so many different ideas, so many different interesting ideas, but they don't mix well together with the limited runtime that this show has.
So I've heard of the Redux thing. Yeah. Redux. Redux? Redux. Redux.
feel like a dad looking at their son disappoint them again after their son said they can fix their mistake from last time. How do you mess up this badly, bro? Buchigiri had the banana fish lady. Yeah, I'm still mad about it. Had the banana fish lady. And Mappa just was like, yeah, no, we're not gonna let you cook the actual story that you wanna make. Make this bullshit instead. I thought, oh no, like Shinichirō Watanabe, that's the guy. That's the guy. Everyone loves him. No one's gonna, no one's gonna get in the way of his creative vision. But no, this feels like Mappa once again. It's probably Mappa. I don't know. I'm just speculating. This is all alleged, my alleged speculation. It feels like Mappa got in the way of the story again. That's what it feels like. It feels like Mappa got in the way of what could have been another Watanabe masterpiece, and they inserted themselves in, and Watanabe's true vision for the show went out the window. Because I feel like there's more here that Watanabe wanted to convey, but there's nothing. There's nothing. The show feels so hollow. Night. That was terrible, I'm sorry. When I was writing this script, I had a lot of different ideas and things I wanted to talk about, because this show is a very interesting case study on the dangers of mindless entertainment, and in a way, I think it's being kind of meta about that, in a sense that a lot of people who seek out entertainment because they feel like their lives have become so void of meaning and they've begun losing faith in the world, and instead of trying to actually not stew in their passive nihilism, they would rather just block out those feelings with something that gives them a chance to turn their brains off and not feel anything. In an ironic way, Lazarus the show is the drug happener itself. And to me, that's very frustrating because, and to get a little personal, everything is awful at the moment. One of the things I really like about Lazarus is how the show's plot kind of acts as a mirror to the current situation that is happening in the real world at the moment. Everything is terrible, and I don't just mean this in a hyperbolic way, I mean everything is genuinely terrible. We are currently living in a time period where it feels like life has become so exhausting, and a lot of us just want to give up. It's becoming harder and harder for people in general to live. And I don't mean to live their lives, I mean to live. To be in a state of existing is becoming so exhausting. I'm getting personal, but like, bro, it is so bad. It's not even funny. I'm laughing, but it's not funny. I live in a country where people in my age demographic are struggling to find jobs. I'm confronted every day with the fact that I might never be able to buy myself a house when I'm older. I'm confronted with the fact that as an artist myself, more and more of my skills are going to become less valuable because AI slop has flooded the market, and it's only getting worse. Have you guys seen the Timbaland signing an AI artist thing? Have you noticed that there are a ton of AI generated songs and playlists that are on YouTube and Spotify? The thing that I love probably more than anything, music has begun to be flooded with AI generated songs, and it might seem like I'm exaggerating because unless you aren't listening to music actively the way I do, then you won't really notice it. But when an artist like Kanye West, someone who I used to idolize as a music producer, starts using AI for his music and openly announces it, then this isn't something that I can just ignore. And Kanye isn't the only major musician using AI. Fucking Playboi Carti was accused of using AI in his album earlier this year. This bloated ass album is filled with so much music. That any song here could be an AI song, and I wouldn't know. My heart would break if I found out that Mojo Jojo charged these hoes a fee, or Trim are AI generated songs, because I love these songs, and I love them because they were made with a genuine love for making music. AI can't generate Kendrick's personality. It can't say and like that, with that vocal inflection. But with AI getting better every day, it's getting harder and harder to see if the thing I'm consuming is made by a person or a machine. And as an artist, that is demotivating. I sometimes feel like I'm the only person who feels like this, but I'm not the only person who feels like. There are so many artists online who have slowly started to give up on being creative because regular people can just type in a prompt on their phone and get an AI generated image of whatever they want to see. And it's demotivating as a creative person who wants to show their talent to the world, who loves creating things and enjoys the process of of creation to know that anyone who has access to a phone can just download an app that can allow them to generate any AI thing they want to see or hear. I mentioned that the show Lazarus is kind of like the drug happener a few seconds ago, and what I meant by that is that this show is kind of serving as an escape for anyone who feels like life is meaningless. They've lost all the things that brought them joy and just don't want to think about what's going on in their lives. Choosing passive nihilism has become the new norm, as a lot of us on this planet choose to avoid having to confront reality, but in a meta sense, we, the people that watch the show, are Lazarus. We have to choose active nihilism because that, at the end of the day, is what Nietzsche strived for us to find meaning in our suffering. It's a shame Lazarus couldn't have emphasized this point better, but there are always other media that do approach these topics much better. The video game Nier Replicant, Cyberpunk 2077, and Berserk are some of my favorite pieces of media that approach these topics in a much better way. If you have anything you've engaged with that talks about subjects like this in any way that's resonated with you, in the comments and tell me why it's resonated with you so deeply. It's a shame that Lazarus stumbles the way it does, because I do believe that if this show had enough time, it could have been something really special. And while it frustrates me to no end because I can see how much potential the story had, I still enjoy it regardless because it's allowed me to make a video like this. I don't consider myself to be very intelligent. Often at times I feel like I'm just yapping when I talk about subjects like this, but I do like exploring shows like Lazarus because it forces me to educate myself more on a subject or theme when I feel like it's being mishandled in the media I consume. There are much smarter people on this website that have made much better videos on Lazarus. I haven't watched them, but Bonsai Pop and Replay Value have both made videos on this show, and they probably said something much smarter than me, so watch those videos instead. Would I recommend you watch Lazarus? Probably not. But if you are looking for a show that has interesting concepts and an overall very good aesthetic and vibe, then yeah, if you've got a couple of hours to spare, then you can watch this. I don't know why you would, because you can just play Nier Replicant, or read Berserk, or watch Heavenly Delusion, or Free Ren, or To Your Eternity, or literally anything else. Hello subscribers, it is I have returned. It's been a minute since my last upload, but I swear, I'm alive. That's why you're watching this video. It's because I'm alive. I don't have much to say today in this outro, just yeah. I'm back to doing videos. I'm here to shill my Patreon, so if you guys are interested, I would really appreciate the support. There are a few benefits, like getting to see your name posted at the end of the video and seeing videos when they are still in the early pre-planned stages of production. So give me your money, please. No, I'm joking. Please support if you'd like to support. General support is $1, and the second tier has all the shit in it that you'd probably like to see. It's around $5 now. If you're new to the channel, hi, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you considered subscribing and leaving a like and a comment. Please do. They really help with the comments. Tell me your favorite Shinichirō Watanabe anime and why you like it so much in the comments. I should have put that at the front of the video. Please consider leaving a comment. It really does help me with the algorithm, and I am trying my best to hit one of my goals of hitting 15K at the end of the year, so I greatly appreciate any support you can give me by leaving a comment and liking the video and sharing it with your friends. Please do that. Don't know when the next video will be out, but can guarantee that there will be a next video out somewhere soon. It's coming. I can promise that. I hope you're having a wonderful day or evening wherever you are in the world, and with that, I'll see you guys later.